Welcome to Gravity Talks.
Wow.
Mental health and love. February is Love Month, so it'd be only appropriate to have a Gravity Talk centered around mental health and love. And I'm your host, Vicki Yelverton. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I am the proud CEO and co-owner of Yelverton's Enrichment Services, where we have been providing mental health and physical health services in the community for over 15 years. And I got some friends with me tonight.
Hey, everybody. I am Natasha Lewis, pastor of Temple of Deliverance Church. Also been working in mental health for over 15 years, pastoring for over 17 years. Excited about tonight. Can't wait to get on the topic. We're going to talk about love, but we also going to talk about relationships. I just want to put that out there before we get started. It ain't just about love. We got to get to relationship before we get to love. So tonight we just ready.
Or do you?
I don't know. That's why we brought an expert with us here tonight. We got an expert because, I don't know. So tonight, everybody, America, I need y'all wherever you at. Stand up, stand up. I'm going to tell y'all something. I've been watching her. She keeps my attention. Many of you know that I have a slightly ADD, ADHD, and so I have difficulties paying attention for long periods of time. However, the first time I saw this beautiful, beautiful young lady, I have been watching her every Monday night talking about relationships. Let me tell y'all something. She got the tea, the juice, and the applesauce, y'all, and the red snapper, So tonight, I want you guys to welcome none other than our great Dr. Adelia Seymour. She's a licensed certified life coach, pastor, preacher, woman of God. And let me tell y'all something. She knows some stuff about love. That's all I'm going to say, because tonight y'all going to find out. She's going to introduce her own self after this. Welcome, Dr. Seymour. Well,
girl, I feel so comfortable, and love is in the air. Something good is about to happen. Somebody tonight, somebody wherever they might be, something good is about to happen. I feel relationships coming together. I feel those single women that's tired of being alone. Somebody sang the song, I'm so tired of being alone. I mean, I think something is going to happen in the supernatural tonight, and we're not talking about speaking in tongues.
Al Green sung that.
Women, I'm so honored to be with you all tonight, though. I feel it in the atmosphere. I feel the energy of changing, a life-changing experience that's about to come into some of our women and men lives as well. So I'm ready. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's get it on, baby. Let's do it.
Let's get it on.
Now, Dr. Seymour, you've been quoting a whole lot of Al Green and Marvin Gaye already. I'm tired of being alone, and let's get it on. Oh, Lord, I'm worried, y'all. I'm worried. Put your seatbelts on. Go ahead, Vicki. Go ahead.
So, again, the purpose of Gravity Talks is, as those who've been following us since May of last year, is to continue to destigmatize mental health, right? To basically let people know, it's okay to not be okay at times. And it's okay if you incur some mental wellness types of things going on in your life. And so as mental health is kind of entwined in all aspects of life, we've had several different shows leading up to this one. It's only right, like we said, that February is Love Month. And so we wanted to have a show that pertains to mental health and love, or mental health and relationships, like Miss Natasha mentioned. So, and let's see, we have another guest that just popped in with us. Woo-hoo! Prophet Mosley, how you doing, sir?
I am outstanding and improving.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't miss much. We're just going over our introductions and kind of leading into the show. So without further ado, do you mind telling people a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, first of all, let me thank you, the host, and also the pastor, and the other young lady who beautiful. All of you all are beautiful, and I am feeling a bit. I should have put a suit on. Uh, I know it's going to be so much glamour and beauty because you know when you're around queens,
All
you
right.
got to step up now.
You got to step up now, but you fly. I see you, Prophet Mosley. You carrying it.
You know, I'm blessed to be here with you. We have a lot of outages going on because of weather, and I could not get the router to work. But anyway, I'm glad I'm here now. I am, and your question was, where do I come from, or what did you say?
Just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm just a servant of God.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I say that because, you know, that's what my work is, serving. And I have always done that, even when I was not in the church. As a youngster, I served the street I lived on, the block I lived around. So it just comes natural. So I serve in ministry, and before, you know, evangelist at large or whatever, but itinerant and all of that. But I'm just glad that God has allowed us this day. I said this earlier, and I'm going to, give it back to you. Somebody asked me how I felt, and I said, well, it's another day, and I'm alive. And, God says, you know what? It's another day. You can start brand new. So I got a new start again.
Okay.
So that's where I am.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for joining us. I know there's a lot going on with the weather. And, I know you went through a lot to be here with us tonight. So we appreciate all that hard effort. But welcome back too. You were on the show with us before last year, right?
Yeah.
We had mental health and the church, and we had a few awesome pastors on the panel with you as well. And so welcome back, Prophet Mosley. Welcome back.
Be back.
Awesome. So again, just the purpose of Gravity Talks is to destigmatize mental health. So we want to jump right in and let you all share a little bit about your understanding, your connection to mental health before we dive into love and relationships. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind, let's see, I'm going to toss it back over to Dr. Seymour. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts and understanding or connection to mental wellness and mental health.
Again, thank you, Vicki. I'm so honored to be again with you all this evening. I think of it psychologically. Many years ago, I took it as a lot of I was a victim of mental abuse, more so than mental health, but mental abuse of love. Because what happened, not knowing what love really was, not having an understanding. In my younger days, we used to associate and acquaint sex with being in love. And then when the boyfriend would break away from you, it would psychologically mess with your brain. And when your boyfriend would walk away from you or get involved with another girl, you can't function the next day or the next week or the next month. And so it was a psychological thing that I had to overcome. I had to outgrow that. I had to mature in that area to learn how to separate love from my mental actions. When I would get physically, mentally, or verbally abused, I shut down and could not react for my family, myself, my upkeep, my grooming, and I would lose my identity because of that psychological abuse of mental health. And so at one time I even went to Prozac and all of this stuff because I was looking for love, thinking that I had been loved. And so when the boyfriend quit me, I shut down. And so that's my view of being mental, with dealing with mental health. With a lot of women, if you notice, they can't function without a lover or a mate in their life. That's mental health. And we feel like we have to have someone. And most of the time, the men that we meet are homosexuals, people that's looking for an outlet with women that's already successful or got something going for themselves. So that's my view of mental health. psychologically, getting myself together.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Seymour. Listen, I like how you kept it real. You said when he quit me, that's when you talking real school right there. When
Yeah.
you got quitted on. Uh-huh.
And you watch him walk down the street with the girl next door to you, wrapped up in her, got her in his arms now. But Negro, we were just lovers last week and last night, and now you going with my girlfriend next door. Hey,
Right.
you picking her up, taking her to the laundromat. Negro, we just slept together last night. Mental. That's
Mental, right.
health.
The mind games. Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Seymour. Let's see. I'm gonna cross it off before Miss Natasha.
I'm coming. Okay, go ahead.
I want Dr. Mosley to share a little bit quick. Okay. So Prophet Mosley, Dr. Mosley, share with us, again, your connection or understanding in regards to mental health.
It's a subject that, and I was listening to the doctor talk and share, and I listen to women. I was raised by a wonderful mom. I don't just call her a mother, but she was a mom. And one of the things that I promised her, and she would say it in intervals in my life, I want you to be a gentleman. And, she says, because you don't have a father right now and you have other people in place that I'm supervising and watching, but I want you to not only find out who you are, but I want you to be a gentleman. And I promised her that I would do that, coming up. And I didn't realize later on in life where we are today in our society and in our culture. And my mother never thought it was cute that I had maybe 2 or 3 young ladies. She never encouraged that. And that's probably the reason why today it is kind of disturbing for me when I hear of gentlemen having more than they have a wife, or they have a young lady, whatever, and then they have others. It's disturbing. It's disturbing because the challenge for me is that we as men don't understand how women look at things. Number one, women want periods. Men have a lot of commas in their life. So a woman loves a man, period. Period. She loves her children, period. She loves her family, period. There is no commas. And when I talk to brothers about this, it's hard for them to come to grips with that. So, all I can do is be an example and share. So my experience, and that's just one facet of it. There's other things that I've watched growing up as a man of God, and as a I guess I got knocked off. Okay.
Uh-oh. Let's see. Prophet Mosley.
You're muted.
I think you hit something again. There you go. No. No, we can't hear you. Okay.
Okay. So while he's logging back off and coming back in, I'm glad. See, now that was a connection to what we were talking about today. So I want to ask this. It's kind of connection. I'm going to ask the other question, but I'm going to ask this first. So what is the connection, and how does it relate to why? I'll start with women first, but why is it that women, what brings on that whole sense of because you with somebody else, or because of this? Is it because you're in love, or is it just a mental kind of, what's happening where women lose themselves? Like you explained, you lose yourself, you lose your care for yourself and everything when you see a man with someone else. What?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What happens is we tend to put ourselves into what we're involved in. And once a man go into us, you have to understand that's the most intimate part of us. So we're sharing something that's very private and personal. And when the man goes into us, whether it's our husband, boyfriend, or whatever, you lose something and you're giving up something of yourself. And when you give up something of yourself, you're thinking that this is mine now because I allowed it to enter into my private place. That's my private place. Now, what the prophet is talking about, a gentleman and a man are two different things. Mm-hmm. See, a man goes a whoring. A gentleman gets satisfied with what he has already at home. But a man, when he does not have an identity, when women do not have identity, then we go from man to man to man. When a man does not have identity, he goes from woman to woman to woman until he develops himself and realizes that he's a gentleman. Once he realizes that he's a gentleman, everything about his mentality is called mentality. Everything about his mentality shifts and it changes. So now then he can become the lover of one woman. And what happens to us, we have given up our private sanctuary. And the reason that we call it the sanctuary is because if you notice, whenever men go into our sanctuary, they almost speak in tongues. They will call you mama. They just go flip. And so they can go from sanctuary.
She said they go flip.
Those Negro man, you know it.
Well, look, Dr. Seymour, I want to ask this though, because I pray they're not watching right now. But I got a whole bunch of brothers, right? And I'm not talking about them. I was just giving you a preface of that. However, I do know a lot of men, they think that if you don't, they have this thing, and I'm not America. I want to say this before anybody start typing, because y'all know how y'all be typing messages when you don't like something I say. But you know how sometimes men are looked at if they're not being, promiscuous, or they're not dating or engaging with a lot of different women. They're looked at as not being either too soft, or they're looked at as something being wrong with them. If you're not married, it's free range. I mean, and that a lot of times some guys are pressured in that way to do that. So where does that come from?
Being in the company of the wrong guys. It comes from it's an intimidation tool to make that man or that man become something that he's not. And so they're with the wrong guys that speaks that language to them. So they're causing them to do something now. So they'll go and sleep. They will go now and sleep with some kind of a woman to prove their manhood. So now they become something, and like the prophet was saying, now they cannot be the gentleman because they're busy being a man. Now they can be a man boy or a boy man. They have a choice. But when they become a full man, they shift, they transition from man to gentleman. But if they don't have identity, then their friends can coerce them into becoming something that's not them. So like a lot of men just satisfied with being one woman and doing that. Their friends are the wrong company to keep. So what they do when you're living in an identity crisis, you will become what everybody else wants you to become. So now that's why you have to have your own identity, sure of yourself. When a man knows that he's a man, nobody can pull him out of his zone. But when a man is not sure, and when he's not a gentleman, it's easy to pull him out of his zone. I mean, when a man is a gentleman, you could never pull a gentleman out of his zone, but you can pull a man out of his zone when he doesn't know if he's a boy man or a man boy.
I like that. I never heard it explained like that before.
I'm from the streets.
I see.
So Prophet Mosley joined us back, and he was on to something.
I was getting ready but before I will get ready to flip it.
A comma. That was deep now.
I like the comma. Now I want to comma this because now we're talking about the men, and people get mad. So we're going to talk about the women real quick on the same topic. Some years ago, I believe I was in college. I'm not aging myself right now, but Dr. Juanita Bynum did a series or a special sermon about no more sheets. And it was almost the opposite, where with women being promiscuous and having several partners. And I wanted to know, Dr. Mosley, what's your take on women having several partners, and where does that kind of stem from?
Well, I can only go by what I have. I've come in contact with women from every caliber. Again, the women that demonstrated and exhibited, I guess, some of the greatest values and or how they carried themselves. Those women shared with me their life, their story. And I think that the challenge is there's so much deep rooted hurt on both sides. And I think that men and women need to sit down and not be combative, but they should sit down and communicate. Now, a man cannot fix a woman because a woman has her own toolbox, and a woman can't fix a man because a man has his own. The Most High, he didn't give us a toolbox to fix a woman. What we have to do is we have to work on ourselves. And as we mature, a lot of things have to do with immaturity. A lot of things that have to do with what I would say, what your exposure has been. And some guys, some boys or whatever, some women, some girls, they haven't had a lot of exposure. And what has been negative. When you are in a home where there is dysfunction, when you are a child and you are watching, and parents that are out there need to understand that kids like you, like me, we look and we parrot what we see. And so we have to set an example. And you can't tell a kid that this is his uncle, and when he is not the uncle. He goes in the cathedral that I call the bedroom. He goes in there. Why would my uncle go into the bedroom with my mom? See, one of the challenges for African Americans, and I guess we get it from our white counterparts, we have lived with secrecy, and secrecy eventually erodes and destroys families. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I know my mother raised me, and she said, what goes on in this house? And she was the type of woman, she didn't have a college degree, but she would say, tell it like it is. And she would say, look, what goes on in this so-and-so house is going to stay in this house. Some of that was good, but some of that was not good. You know why? Because now, if you don't know how to separate things, and if you don't know how to look at it and say, now, this is not good, and this is good. Kids grow up. By the age of 7, they start forming their system of belief and what they see. So it's all about exposure. So to make it real short here, I grew up around great, strong women. Now, whatever they did in their personal life, they did not involve me in that. They were the kind of women. Listen, my mother was an Eastern Star. This is not a church woman. Didn't read the Bible. And the reason why she stopped going to church was because that's all they did coming from Virginia. She got up to Connecticut way back when, and she said she was running from her father, and her mother, because it was church. And if you didn't go to church, so she was church, church, church. She told me it's not going to be church, church, church. You're so-and-so. Well, she would say the word. I call it assets. She called it the other word. I hope I didn't offend anybody, but she said it just like it was. You're going to take your behind to school. And she did not encourage the Christian thing. So I learned a lot about standards. I learned a lot of soft skills. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. All of that. We were constantly told, keep your mouth shut. We were constantly told, walls got. When I would walk in the living room and my mother's friends were there, and I'm just going to keep it real, she would say, shh, shh, and then, okay, what was that all about? That was about her and her friends in their conversation, their woman. So I came from that environment. So that's why I am way I am today. And a lot of brothers come with me because I tell them you can't have a relationship with a lady, with a woman, until you learn how to communicate. And that means you have to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to be quiet sometime and say, you know what? You're right. And because sometimes we raise our children and we raise them and they see us and they don't even know how to handle it. They go out and they say, you know, this is the right. No, it's not the right way to do certain things and to approach certain things. So, you know, you did say something about no more sheets. That's another conversation, because I believe that, okay, just put it this way. Everything is not preaching. There's some things that you need to take a group of people in a room and talk to them and not talk at them. Again, I grew up in an environment and a generation where grown-ups talked at me. And you all understand what I'm saying. They didn't talk to me. I had few. My grandmother, by the way, was a proponent of my mother, whose husband left her with the kids, went to the military, waited on him to come back home. He came out of the military and got involved with a white woman and lived with her. And it was only when my mother's friend said to her, Lula, I didn't know Wallace was back. Now I can talk freely because all these people are dead, you know, because I would be in. Listen, if my mother was living now and her friends, it'd be some problems after this live. I'm just telling you like it is. When my mother found out, she went to his job. She was from the old school. And she said to him, you can be with her, but you're going to take care of these kids. And I'll be here every week to get the check. And he was like, oh, all right. Because my mother didn't play that shit. She said, you have to be with me. But that hurt lived in my mother for years. And I tell the brothers all the time, the black woman, let's tell the truth, she has been the sole proprietor of her family. The black woman has saved the church from when we couldn't pay our rent. And talk about the black woman, the positive things that I've seen. I have to respect black women. I respect all women, but I respect black women because of today, the contribution. And we all need that. Well, this is a month of love. This is a month, but like the doctor said, got to tell the truth. And if people are going to, you've got to put it all on the table.
I love it. That's right. So, Dr. Seymour.
You can't get it. Excuse me for a minute. You can't have a healthy relationship when you're bringing the residue of the form of woman into your. I was telling no longer than the other day. I said, bro, what you can't do or what you're doing is you're getting involved with do you understand you're having sex? You're having sex. You're not having a relationship. Mm-hmm. And the argument they make, Dr. Seymour, is that ain't nobody gonna tell me what I can't do. Well, I'm not trying to tell you what you can't do. I'm telling you that you're not having a relationship, a wholesome, healthy relationship, because of what you're doing right now. And you're bringing all these other women in this, all these other people in this room together, and it's just disturbing.
Dr. Seymour, do you guys think it's a love issue? Is that the main source of relationship problem, that there's like a deficit of knowing and understanding what love is?
I don't think it's about knowing what love is. I think it's an identity crisis, because most of us don't have identity crisis, especially black men. And what our job and assignment now as black women is to build that black man again, because the system has already torn the black man down and moved him out of his place. So what now I'm going to use God. I didn't want to use God, but I got to use this. God is raising up a residue of black women that's bold enough that's courageous enough, that's intelligent enough, that has had certain backgrounds, that's going to go back and rebuild that black man that's been torn down by the system. What are you saying, Dr. Seymour? Well, anyway, they call me Queen anyway, so it don't matter. But they used us in the beginning to tear the black man down, and now we're being used to build them back up. And if you notice what's happening, we're coming back, and we're coming back doing 100. We're coming back with our mindsets because we are learning now who we are. We are learning our strength. We're learning that we don't need homosexuals anymore to prostitute and pimp our sanctity. When I talk about our sanctity, I'm talking about our virginity. I'm talking about our snapper. You know, and what has happened, nobody is teaching the black woman how to take control of her sanctity, her mind, of who she really is, and to go into that third place. See, there's a third place that's been set aside for us. There's the outer courts, there's the inner courts, and then there's
what's the snapper?
Come on with it.
What's the snapper? I want to know.
The snapper is called good coochie, and Prophet, don't get offended. But the snapper is really what black women in my day, my grandmothers, they used to teach us how to work the snapper. It's just like driving.
You got it, Dr. Seymour. You got it.
Go ahead.
Grown folk talk.
You might well finish this one.
It's the truth. Preachers wouldn't be in trouble. Pastors and apostles and bishops wouldn't be in trouble if the first lady knew how valuable her snapper was. If somebody would have told her how to work it instead of how to sit on the front row and put a handkerchief in front of her, and how to be just a beauty queen. She's just a pretty woman that doesn't know how to keep her husband in sanctity when he finished preaching or when he finished doing what he's doing. She doesn't know. Nobody never told this woman, go in his office and you dry his back off and kiss his back after he finished preaching. This was never taught. And so now God is raising up people like me that's going to teach these first ladies how to save their marriage and how not to have all the secretary. There's no more called secretary. We don't need secretaries. We can be our own husband's secretaries. We don't need other women to drive them around. We can drive them, and we're going to teach these first ladies how to work the snapper. Listen, the other day on my show, I was talking about the boat. We got to teach these women how to learn how to drive a boat. Most women don't even know how to drive a boat. They saved, sanctified, speaking in tongues, shouting all over the church, raising church fund, but don't know how to keep it together with the sanctity and knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Sex language is power. That's why I tell you, women, there are three parts to us: female, woman, and lady. There's three parts to the men: male, boy, male. Help me with it. Boy, male, and gentleman. So I was listening to the prophet saying he was raised to be a gentleman. So if he was born to be a gentleman, there is nothing a woman can say to him, because he is in a level now that he would have to be approached, or he would have to approach a lady. A lady is a woman that has had a cross experience. A gentleman is a man that has gone beyond the cross and has had an experience with God. And so when you don't meet this, it clashes. So they can meet a lot of women, but you have got to have the sanctuary together. Now I'm talking about the bedroom. When the bedroom is not together, there's going to be all kind of irrationality going on, especially if he's a man of God. I know. Look at you. Wait a minute, Vicky. Come back, girl. Come back.
I'm here. So what you saying is a lot of this sextatory stuff going on because nobody is teaching these women the proper way to go into the boat.
The first thing that a first lady should be taught, the first thing that a first lady need to be taught is how to make love, not how to screw and not how to have sex. Because if she can make love, she knows that it's good for him, even while he's in the pulpit ministry. Then when he goes to his office, because you have made love to your husband standing right there beside him without him ever having to go into you intimately. See, these things are not taught. So that's why he have to have a wife and a sweetheart. That's why you have a wife and a secretary. That's why they'll sneak into the pole store, because she don't have a room in the man cave where she have a pole in there to entertain her husband. You're not going to hell when you want to entertain your husband being that lady, because it ain't no first lady, but being that lady.
Mm.
Now, don't go ahead.
You got a poll, Dr. C? No, don't answer that.
Don't answer. You don't want to
Girl,
tell it now. You
got
know
a
she
poll,
tell
and
the
I'm an
truth.
apostle. But see, a lady does what a lady have to do. We come from the outer court, then we go into the inner courts to go into the Holy of Holies. But you can't make it to the mercy seat until you have revelation and understanding of what's going on in the mercy seat. So what has happened, that's why our churches have failed. That's why we black women have failed our black men, because we don't have knowledge of how to be a lady. We was groomed to be a woman, wash dishes, cook, have babies. But nobody taught us that next level. That's why I was talking about that snapper, driving the boat, knowing what to do, knowing how to do it. Then we could drop the divorce rate and build these black men back to what God has called them, and putting them back in their assignment. Their first assignment, women, was to groom the garden. It was their first assignment. When he gave Adam an assignment to Eve, it was say, tilt the garden. Do you know what tilt the garden means? Take care of all of her intimate needs. That was what it was about. Well, you know, that's what it was about. I'm not trying to make you all fire me off the show.
No, you fine.
No, I'm having
Boy, you ain't going nowhere.
I'm having a grand time.
But it's true. And nobody is teaching this, because yes, they were good at doing what they did, but now we're in a new generation, we're in a new millennium, we're in a new era, we're in the fourth hour, we're in the fourth watch. We've got to be knowledgeable of the time and what we're doing, how we're going to master our bedroom with our husbands. It doesn't matter if you've been with them 40 years, 50 years. Women call me and say, but he ain't doing nothing. We've been together 4 years. I say, boo, let me give you some methods. Let's change this stuff. They don't have to have Viagra to know how to function. They need you to know what to do to make them function. And that's what's happening. Okay, Delia.
Ooh.
Okay, Queen. Okay, Queen.
Go on, Queen. Queen.
Dr. Mosley, do you have? I don't even have a question at this point. You got something, Dr. Mosley?
He like.
Oh no.
Well, I'm listening with both ears, and I'm one of the things that I say to young men when I pastored in what I call the Joseph's class is that there are three wonders of a woman. And number one, and this is a sidebar. So I said, this is what I say in the Joseph's class. And we have a Mary's class, and that's for women, okay? So one of the three things I say about women are this: she can bury a bone without digging a hole. She bleeds without being cut. And then she can make milk without eating grass. That's one.
Are you all hearing him?
Yeah. Can we go back over that? Can we do that? Bury the bone. Can y'all break that down the bone for me?
One of there's three things that I say to young men when they're a certain age and they're in the Joseph's class and they're about. Say to them, there are three wonders of a woman. There's probably more than that, but the three are: number one, she buries a bone without digging a hole. Number two, she bleeds without being cut. And number three, she gives milk. She gives milk without eating grass. And there's nobody like her. She can do that. Now, let me go on with something else that I find fascinating. I was listening to the Queen, and I thought about something I said years ago about a woman. And I said to the brothers, I said, a woman, if you love her and you care for her, you never have to beg her for anything. The whole part of love making, and since we're on this avenue here, the whole part of love making begins even before you get in your house, before you get where you're going. When you know the right mood, and when you know the right conversation, and when you have the right communication, the clothes are already off. It begins, you know what's so intimate when you hold a woman's hand?
Mm.
That is so intimate. I haven't even dealt with the other things. I'm talking about holding her hand. How many brothers have I said this often to? Why don't you hold your wife's hand? I ain't holding nobody's hand. I said, okay. I'm just saying this to you, bro. I'm just saying this to you. Everybody, I said, I ain't walking down no street. I said, you know what? You should continue to do the things you did to get her and continue to do those things. Don't start something and then stop. Little things mean so much to women. They want to hear it. If you can't afford to buy them a sable coat or you don't put them in the Bentley right away, because you're there and because you have assured them, I ain't going nowhere.
Hmm.
And I'm going to make sure you're first. And that's my challenge to brothers. Why marry a woman and you don't make her special? Why? I mean, it's a waste of time and it's devastating to her. So the little things, brothers are short on soft skills. Okay. And this also comes because how they were socialized. As the queen said, the system was put in place. And let me tell you something, everything that's going on in the world with white supremacy, privilege, and all this system is not supposed to be fixed. Black people and white people have had a disturbing and abusive relationship. They continue to have it even after Black Lives Matter. The relationship, we take it out on our families and our wives or our girlfriends. So it's going to take another generation, and it's going to take persons like the queen and the doctor and the pastor here to say, look, let's stop playing games here. You want you want to be fixed, you want to get right, you want to have relationships, good, healthy relationships. Let's talk. What do you want from me? And a lot of people have this idea that I'm in this relate. What are you in the relationship for? Are you in it to get something? You should be bringing something in the relationship. And God has given men the hardware to go into this relationship and be the man that they're supposed to be. Doesn't have to walk around that. You don't walk around the house talking about, you know who the man in this house is. She already knows. The other thing is, I say this to women when I'm sharing with them. You can get a man to do just about anything if you understand pillow talk. And I'm letting this out, and I know brothers are going to be upset when I say this, but pillow talk not only gets a new car, pillow talk gets a whole lot of other stuff. Women need to use, and God bless the queen, God has given her that power to give to the life, not men, what he needs and it should be an exchange. It's not just one. Now the Bible says the bed is undefiled. Absolutely. That's right. It's undefiled. And women have to stop saying, well, I'm at an age now. What are you talking about? At an age what? I have a friend I know, 87 years old, and I wouldn't dare call her name. She does not date older men because she says, hey, you know what? I'm not doing that. Listen, there's no reason why both of us need to be using Bengay. She says, I want satisfaction and I don't want to be pacified. There's nothing wrong with my knees, my back. I work out, I walk, and I'm 87 years old and I'm still moist. That's an 87-year-old Black woman who knows God.
Come on.
The bed is undefiled. So I'm saying to everyone out there, and I'm saying that if we don't change, see, that's the problem is relearning. And, the old, you have to break this mold. I heard the Queen talk about the preacher's wives. They need a new model. They need the old model. It's just like what I'm telling the church today, the Black church. Don't tell me that we're going back to the normal. We need a new model. God bless Bishop Mason. He was one of my mentors, but he built a great church. Bishop Haywood, but now we need a new what? We need to build on that. Bring the church, take the church, not to the next level, to another dimension.
Yes.
Because the old model is not going to work. We're never going to go back to this tactile or in person. We're going to be remote, and we're going to do it around the world. But back to this here, women, God has given you something, and you have to know how to use that to his glory. He said the bed is undefiled. Brothers, you got to get your eyes out of Playboy. You got to and let me tell you something. There's enough in the Bible that talks about relationships, sex, all of that. You want to get people happy and running around the church, and then when they get home, they have nothing, no enthusiasm. They're not loving. This is not what we ought to be doing. We ought to bring that experience with each other intimately home and with our family, with our family. And it's unfortunate that the abuse and what happened during slavery, because we're still trying to overcome the effects. I was telling somebody the other day, we are dealing with a whiplash, a psychological whiplash from Civil War before and Jim Crow. They took the male man out, and they raped him. The Catholic Church is in, right while I'm speaking, there are lawsuits. There because of what, and it continues to this day. We got to get this right.
I thank you for sharing that so much. I want to just kind of elaborate a little bit on what both of you are saying together, that, we have to build up the men, but I've run across quite a few damaged women. And I'm almost afraid that if it's going to be our duty to build these men up, some of them have been so damaged to the point where it almost seems like just this up and down kind of roller coaster type of thing. So where does the healing begin for the women and the building up for the women? Where does that?
Before we answer that, I wanted to just kind of reflect back on some of the things Dr. Seymour said and some of the things that Dr. Mosley said. Like in the very beginning, Dr. Seymour shared about how the woman was hurt after the boyfriend or even the husband quit her, so to speak. And then she would have to see him with another person in her face, and that hurt. She has to heal from that. But like she said, it's like a pit of your stomach. Remember the days back in the day where you just felt so devastated, how you was going to move forward, how you was going to go on in life, because going back to what Prophet Mosley shared, women work with periods and men work with commas. So if we love you, period. So again, if you end up leaving me or you end up quitting me, what do I have after that period? You got to start over. That's like a sentence. You got to start another sentence. So going into what you're saying, how do women heal from that? I would love to hear what the doctors have to share about that, because that is a big thing for us to be able to continue to build up the Black male. We got some healing to do first, and then we can be some good to kind of resurrect the Black male, so to speak, to get him back to his assignment. So Dr. Seymour, what are your thoughts? How do, like Natasha mentioned, how do women start the healing process?
Well, the first thing is identify. When you identify that that this is not who I want to be, and this is not how I'm going to live my life. When I came to the knowledge of knowing this is not the way that I was going to live my life. Now, understand this. when I finally came into the knowing of this, I had already had 5 children, and 5 of them with different daddies. Don't look like it now. Probably don't look nothing like what all I've gone through. But at that time, now here it is, because I went from guy to guy, being hurt in this relationship, hurt in that relationship. 1 or 2 would move in with me because I had a place to stay. 1 or 2 would drive my car. So all of that is we're going back to the mental health as well. But one day I woke up and realized I was hurting myself. I was not hurting them. And by before you can heal, you're going on and jumping in the bed with another guy. That was the process of most of us women, what we would do, because we're trying to find love in sex and not love in the psychological path and not straighten it out ourselves. So once I was able to identify with what I was dealing with, I set myself aside and said, look, Adelia, you're not going to live the rest of your life like this and not being mad with every man. Because, I want to say this, I've had 2 or 3 girlfriends, girls, not gay, not intimately, but girls that I saw after they had been in bad relationships, they wanted nothing else to do with men. So that was one strike. I was not going to allow myself to become a lesbian because of being mentally, psychologically, verbally, and physically beaten. I just was not going to do that with myself. I've slept with all these different men, I'm the mother now of 10 children, 78 grandkids, 15 greats. And so I had to get myself together before God allowed me to have all of this. I came into reality of this is not where I'm going. I'm not going to continue to sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I got saved. Then I still was bringing that mess into the church. That's why I can have the conversation like I have and have it so freely. Because the men in the church, when you come in there, you find you got to look pretty, you know how that go. Then all of them want to sleep with you. So now we're whoring in the church. But when I realized that there was greatness in me, and it didn't take the Holy Ghost for this. It took common sense and coming into the knowledge of I'm not going to be that anymore. I'm not going to share. No other man would know what my privacy and what my sanctuary feel like. No other man would not enjoy me again. Stop. And so, but I'm real. It's so real that I'm trying to hold myself in what I say. But I had to make up within myself. And then I started identifying, wait a minute, I shouldn't have done that like that. I shouldn't have slept with him. And now some of the guys that I've slept with, I am ashamed for folk to know that I even know that Negro. You know, they are so something. But once I was able to identify with myself, I was able to heal. I was able to heal. Once I was able to heal, I was able to get into my assignment. Because I didn't believe in women preachers. I didn't believe women apostles. I didn't believe in women evangelists. I didn't believe in nothing but women missionaries because I came out of the old school. When I married my first husband, we didn't even date. He looked at me in the church and I looked at him in the church, and we had to date from across the aisle in the church. I never wore a wedding ring or anything with him. So I've had all of this experience. I teach from experience. That's why I'm trying to come in now and bring that love and relationship. And the first thing that I teach, thank God again for the prophet. That's one of the first things on my list that I teach folk is communication and conversation. If you cannot communicate and you do not have a decent, in-depth conversation, run, not walk. Start running. If there's not a conversation and you cannot communicate, and the communication is supposed to bring openness. So let me feel you, and you got to feel me. If I can't feel you, we're not going to get together. And by the way, Bishop, I am a cool guy. I don't want no old man. I tell them all day I wouldn't have no old man. But I teach young women what to do with what they're operating with in my assignment.
What's a cougar? What you mean when you a cougar, Dr. Seymour?
Yeah. I don't want no man over 41, 45.
What's the difference with your husband, y'all's age?
My husband is 41. I am 67, 68.
Come on now. 25 years.
25 years,
baby. Hey.
You don't hear me, do you? I can still walk. I can still exercise. I still go to the gym, you know. And yeah.
Like what she said. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, well, let's see. Let's go back to the script. Ladies and
see,
gentlemen.
but not. When you said strip, I thought about this is what has happened to a lot of our men. See, we can't keep them out of the strip clubs because we was taught to be sanctimonious. And our men, we are losing all of our, not all, but a lot of our men to the strip club. So they're taking the money from home to the strip club. So I teach the women, you become his stripper. You become his pole dancer. That's your husband. Marriage is honorable. The bed is undefiled. There ain't no limit. What has happened to a lot of black girls, especially those in church? I don't do that. That's nasty. And your husband or your lover has a freak that's being everything that he needs her to be. Then he come back home to you. He don't feel like nothing. He don't want to talk. He don't want to do no conversation. Yet he'll pay the bills, but he's being sexually satisfied somewhere else. We got to change that.
I'm ready now. I'm ready, Dr. Seymour. You got me now. I'm ready. So now I want to talk about now, and y'all giving us some good stuff about being married, but there's some viewers on here that's not married yet. And they try not to be the stripper, and they try not to roll the pole, and they try not to do any of those things. But you know, where's that line get drawn? Because you know we supposed to be holy. So what are we teaching? What is the message that we need to give to the single women, and even the single men? Because you know the flesh rises, and you don't want to compromise. Because we had a show. I'm gonna share this. We had a show. I won't mention any names. And the preacher told us that it was all right to have sex, and that was the glory, and that was the way to get to heaven. And you go on in there as much as you want to, because you won't go into hell for premarital sex. And so, what can we do to help? For example, how long should do you recommend someone should date? Because I've heard several different things on different shows, and I just for the sake of this show tonight, I'm just curious to know what you guys' take is on this. Come on, help me out here. Help us out.
I'll let the prophet answer first.
Okay, go ahead, Prophet.
Well, I just wanted to go back to something real quick, if I can. I find interesting is, and I keep bringing this up, but I find that our white counterparts, they want to move on, want to say, you know, you guys need to get over this. Okay, you need to move on, blah, blah, blah. And what I try to, you cannot build bridges when you have not first done the first thing. You cannot have reconciliation without recognition first. Let me say that because I want to say this about relationships. Before you can reconcile about your life, you have to first have recognition that something was done wrong to me. Huh? Yeah, because it will damage every other guy, every other woman. I'm talking to somebody out there. So you're going to bring that. You were damaged at 12 years old, young man. Somebody inappropriately did something to you that you don't even talk about. So you marry a woman and you end up breaking her jaw. You end up trying to strangle her. It's because of what is buried inside of you. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm trying to let somebody understand something. You cannot have a loving relationship when the person is carrying the baggage of hurt. Why we can't move on in this country is because of white people not giving us the place of recognition that something was done wrong to us. So we keep bringing it up. We keep acting it out. And so this is deep, and this is why you have to have these conversations. I agree with the Queen when she says it, and I always say this: if you're going to have a good relationship, it has to begin with conversation. Now, in order to have a good conversation, you're going to have the right ambiance, atmosphere. When I talk to a woman, I like to bring her to a place where it's very quiet, very dignified, very music. I'm not talking about church music. Maybe a Mexican guitar player, maybe something. I want her to enjoy the setting. We are going without a cell phone. We are not going to sit there and text.
Mm.
But let me move on because I don't have a lot of time. I don't want to take your time. It's important that we have the right orientation. Dating, first of all, you got to get to know who you are. And let me tell you something about men that I'm letting you in on something right now. Let me tell you something about men. A man doesn't know what he wants, but he knows what he doesn't want. And don't tell nobody I told you that. Think about that. He doesn't always know what he wants out of, but he knows what he doesn't want. We need to talk. Whether you're from Mars and I'm from Venus, we need to talk. And you know what? That talking, that conversation, I'm not talking about what do you want? Do you want it? And let me tell you something. You can have it. Whatever suits you, whatever rocks your boat or your world. But you first better understand who you're talking to, the person. You better find out where they are. And that's one of the big challenges. We are not having the right conversation. And so we can't communicate. That's how you relate. You have a relationship because you relate to one another. And you're allowing this person to share. Don't tell me, wait a minute. Don't tell me how I feel. Come on, bro. The girl's saying this to you. Don't tell me how I feel. You haven't been here all day. You haven't been here with all these kids all day. So don't come in here telling me how I feel. You haven't even offered me a hug. You send everybody else something, and the nerve of you don't even send me a card with a soda cracker in it. See, these are the things that I work on. Because once you get in bed, if you don't know what to do, she gonna tell you, and you ought to tell him what to do, or you can learn that. But you know what? Before we get into bed, open the door for her. Before, you know what? Since we're going this way, let me tell you something. This thing is so deep that when you get involved with her, you start thinking the same. You know what? She'll say to you, I thought the same thing at 2:00 today. And you say, wow. I agree with the queen, the doctor, that we're going to have to put some work into, let me tell you something. If you, I don't know if there's kids, I'll tell y'all something. Ladies, make that Negro sweat. Make the sweat come down on his brow, even if it's dye.
That Beijing run.
Yeah, whatever it is, make. You know why? Because if you ain't making him sweat, okay. So I'm saying to women, you are powerful, but first of all, open up conversation. You know, you want all this wonderful. Does he got anything besides both?
So Prophet Mosley, like what you shared earlier about, holding her hand, how powerful that is. All that is happening the intimacy is happening before you even get to the bedroom. And Dr. Seymour talked about that as well. So it's kind of like two things have to happen, I guess, simultaneously. Men have to go back because chivalry it seems like it can be dead at times. Yeah. And so they have to go back to treating women and courting women, in the mind so that they can get the snapper in on the other end. You see what I'm saying? It's like, it's got to be, the women can't give up the snapper or the sanctuary until they get the handheld and the door open. You see what I'm saying? So something got to happen.
And you know what? Before you let him see, there's what they call a cookie jar.
Oh,
Before you let him in the jar, because you got to make sure that he doesn't break because well, so you got to do your homework. You got to do your work. And I agree. We've got to teach women, and women should teach women. When I hear of these, we're going to have a women's conference. In that conference, is maybe 20 or 30% real teaching, and 80% shouting, "Go ahead, girl," this, that, and the other. And a lot of those women go back to their hotel room. They're unfulfilled. And a lot of this work can't be done across the pulpit. You've got to get a chair and sit down and open up the car, take your shoes off, and say, "Now look, this is what this is for. This is what that's for." And like the generation today says, keeping it real. Um, Mothers and fathers need to do a better job when they're raising kids.
mm-hmm.
You're raising a boy, you're raising a girl, and they have to see things. They have to see their mom love her correctly. You know why I'm lovable? Because my mother loved me. Everybody's not lovable. You love them, but they're not lovable.
That's good.
And I think that you ought to first enjoy being single first before you jump up and say, "I did everything at 25. Now I want a man or I want a woman." Come on, wait a minute. You haven't even gone nowhere. You need to think about single. What is it about being single first? Once you appreciate that, then when you go into it, then you can appreciate somebody else. You don't know who you are. You don't have your voice. When I'm happy, so the lady said to me, "I need somebody to make me happy." This is what she said years ago. I said, "You need somebody to make you happy? You need to be happy before you marry the Negro. Because when he does something wrong, you ain't gonna be happy. You got happiness is it's happenstance. It's based on conditions. But what you need to know is that, you know what? He don't have to, I'm okay. I'm fine." That's what she says. "I'm fine. I'll be all right." This is where a lot of the problems are, because we don't know enough about ourselves and know what we want. And I'm gonna tell you this too. You ever see these scandals that come out on business people and professional people and preachers and who are these people? And then when you find out, and they have this woman show up, and they say, "What? He ran off on his wife for her?" You know why he did? Because she was doing the job. He wanted the job done. Goes back to what the Queen said. We got to understand how we were created. You can't get to the apex until you do that.
Okay. So crossing over, because that was great nuggets for our single crowd, right?
Yeah, but Dr. Seymour said she was going to answer first. So,
but it probably going to blend into how do you keep, now we're crossing over to the married crowd. Dr. Seymour, what is your nuggets for folk who are married to keep the fire burning? Because I think it's interchangeable. I think, well, maybe it's different. It's different. But let's start with the married folk.
Change. But I want to say this. I want to say this very quickly. Very quickly. The bishop, the apostle, the prophet said, we don't have mentors any longer, because when you go to conferences, it's basically about the settings all day long, teaching about this and that, and never getting to the core and the real problem of what's destroying our churches. We don't have Esther's. We don't have any Mordecai's anymore. Mordecai taught Esther how to prepare her legs, how to bathe. He went to the orphanage and got Odessa and took her and groomed her and taught her how to make love to the king. Then we had Ruth that went, Naomi that took Ruth to the field and taught her how to work. She was found in the field laboring. While she was found in the field laboring, she was also taught how to become a lady and how to do. She said, now this is what you do. And the Bible tells us that, I think Ruth said it to her, all that you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. People are ashamed to talk about oral sex. They're ashamed to talk about stripper poles and doing nasty, freaky stuff in the bedroom. But that's what it's going to take now, because our minds, I don't care how we pretend that it's not, our minds go places at certain times, whether we're with our lover, with our husband, our spouse, or alone. I don't care how much I've had the Holy Ghost since 1974, baptized in Jesus' name, been dipped 3-4 times. Okay, how many bad times I got dipped over and over and over. Each time didn't save me no different. But I'm saying, until this stuff is brought back to the church, these women got to be taught how to make love. This is how you're going to save your marriage. They got to be taught how to not screw any longer. Men have had enough of screwing days. These men have got to be made love to. When you make love to them, you make love to their mind. So now when he goes to work, all he has on his mind is you. When he get in the pulpit to preach, this Negro gonna be preaching with an erection because he see you sitting out there in the audience, because that's what the freaky woman is doing that we're not doing. We are ashamed to do it. We're afraid to do it. We won't have conversation about some of his fantasies. These men have fantasies just like we have fantasies. And so there are places that need to be touched. There are conversations that need to be filled. Mordecai told Esther, he said, we got to win this war. So I've got to teach you how to win this war. And if I don't teach you what to do, all of those other women went in that room before Esther went in that room. Y'all know, y'all preachers. But
I don't
what
know
he
it.
told her, that Negro said, we're going to get some vanilla flavor. We're going to put it behind your ears. I want you to smell a certain way. You got to teach them how to smell a certain way when we're trying to win. There's a certain smell that we need to bring, even into the bedroom all day long, even into the restroom. These are things that's not taught. We're teaching them how to speak in tongues, how to work and all of it, but we need to bring more to the table. Save women, preaching women. And so, but Mordecai taught that to Esther. And Naomi taught this to Ruth. She said, and when you go into his room, come from the foot of the bed. Now, I know the men of God and the prophets probably got other revelation about it, but this is my revelation. She said, when you come from the foot of the bed, you mess with that Negro toes first. Let him remember you. And you ain't got to never ever work in the field again, because what she had to offer him, it took her out of the field. So we got to come into reality of learning. We got to learn what turns him on, where to put his hand, where I need to put my hand, what I need to say. We don't have to say but one word, and we can change his whole life. We don't have to do a whole lot of fussing and fighting to change our man's life. We just need somebody to mentor us into our next level, into our Bentley, into our Rolls Royce, into our Lamborghini, into our 12,000 square foot home. This is where we're going, women, in this hour. And when the platform is set, we're taking over, and we're taking our black men with us, and they're taking us with them. Them white women had enough of them good juicy black men. We need to stop them. Y'all know them white women took over. And there ain't no way they know what we know, because the white man raped us first. He left her at home and came and got ours. So you got to know we got what they like. So let's use that to the best of our ability. I know I said it.
No, you talking right. Okay.
That's what you know.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Pastor Lewis.
Prophet was going to say something. Go ahead, Prophet. Go ahead.
You know, I want to play the devil's advocate a little bit with everybody, and that is, I'm just of the opinion that a woman shouldn't have to keep me. That's me. I just think that if I'm interested and I'm in a loving relationship, you know, I have so many women that say to me, do you have anything that you can give me so I can keep this man. And I say to them in presbytery, prophetic presbytery, I said, I don't have anything. There's not a prophet or a bishop that can give you anything to keep a man. It is not your place to do that, to keep a man. And, I'm just saying that this is me. I'm not saying that I've come from a biblical perspective and all that. I'm just saying that we are wired a certain way. And I believe this too, that sex is like cigarettes. You never reach, the utopia, and oh, it was great. But when the Negro constantly gets all of this and he does not know how to reciprocate, he doesn't want to take care of his children, he doesn't want to take care.
Okay. Well, we'll
Okay.
wait for him to come back in.
While he's
What
coming
you
back
say,
in,
Dr.
I'd like
Seymour?
to say something. Because I think it is necessary. I think women, that you do need to know what to do to satisfy him and to be attractive and to turn him on. I feel like it is necessary in a lot of relationships. Some men might not be as sexual active as others, but it is good to know and to study how to become the greatest of what you are in your field. I want to know how to man my marriage to the best of my ability. I want to know. I want to know more than what I already know, because I am a winner, and I think it helps enhance you when you're saying I am open to learn and to be teachable and to change things. Because if we remain the way that we are, that's what has torn up so many of the Black marriages, because nobody wants to change it. There are a lot of them that feel like it's all together, but it's not together. Do the ratio of divorces, especially in churches. He is not happy. Most of those men are not happy with their wives. Wives, learn what to do to keep that Negro satisfied. If he wants a freak, you become his freak and stay saved. It's called a lover or a wife or a husband does what a lover, wife, or husband have to do to make it happen.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Seymour. So Dr. Mosley, you want to pick up the baton on what you were sharing a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I agree 150% with Dr. Seymour. I just want to let that be known. I agree with what she's saying. I also say to men, and I also say to women, there must be a conversation. We plan all our lives for a wedding day and never plan for a marriage. Marriage is about commitment. And I agree. You have to know how to do more than one thing when you are in this marriage, because in the event that you can't perform, we have people that have underlying conditions and they're stuck in a marriage. And this is very, very sensitive right now when I'm talking to some people out there. Their husband is dealing with something. Men have to be honest. Women start dealing with things. How do you work around those things and yet be loving? You know how you do it? Because you started out friends. You started out putting your head on his shoulder or your head on her lap. Little things. So that, okay, he had a terrible accident. And so now he does not perform. But you know what? I'm talking to women out there that are dealing with maybe a 20-year-old marriage that has hit a hole. And you're saying, look, I'm just not up to it because of this, that, and that. There's some women that are physically ill. But you know what? Man, brother, you don't even sit down with her and hold her and say, you know what, you're still my baby. And we're having, and there's a lot of people that are in marriages that are not sexual. If we're going to put everything out there, They have stopped because of things. And so some people say, well, what you just leave? No, no, no. You got to start where you're at. You got to begin somewhere with a conversation. Okay, we're not having sex in this house, and we are walking out the door in the car, going to church. You got a hat on, and I got a trench coat on, shouting in church. We come back, and stays in the living room playing video games. What is that? You're a 30-something-year-old man playing video games, and why aren't you somewhere with your wife in the house saying, look, are you okay? And I'm not talking about, because nobody wants to be up under somebody 24. I'm just saying, these are other issues. And again, I agree with the doctor. You got to be creative. What's wrong with a massage? What's wrong with using, God gave you all. If you don't use it, you lose it. Now, when I came along, I hear people saying, what's this? When I came along, the old people called it the red snapper. So every woman has this going for her, and you have to know how to use it in such a way that it builds. And like the doctor said, it will build up the man, okay? But after he has that, he still has to take care of his responsibility. And his responsibility is to take care of you and make sure that you're good. You know what? Are you good? Are you okay? These are kind of the areas I kind of deal with. And I agree, again, we need help. And we're seeing a generation growing up, and we're watching what's happening. And we have to stop saying that these people are like this, these kids are, you know what? They've watched us. That's where they got it from. I believe every woman, listen, we're putting all this out here. Why is it that you're walking around in pajamas like him? Get out of those pajamas and put on a negligee. I'm just hitting little things. I know I'm not saying, because I'm just saying these are little tidbits. Put on the negligee. Since he likes it, because if you wake up during the night and you reach over in the bed and he's not in the bed, and you say, where's he at? And you go downstairs and he's in his library and he's on a site. And you're saying, oh, baby, he's been on the site for a while. We got to get this straightened out. These are the areas that we have to address. And a lot of pastors and bishops are not going to do this in a conference. And pacifying versus satisfying. Pacifying versus satisfying. What do you want from this marriage? What do you want when we're intimate? You got to talk. Open your mouth up. Because if they're not getting it, they're going to get it from somewhere. And I'm not saying people are going to run out and all that. I don't do that. I'm saying that there are some women, and I'll say this and I'm going to shut up. There are some women that for 40 years, and this is going to blow up this whole thing right now, they have never had a climax.
I knew that. You're right.
They have never passed out. Do you know that when it's done like it should be, sometimes your eyes get full of water? Not because you're upset, because it's like Alice in Wonderland. And the very thought, 40 years. Listen, baby, you can throw away all the sex toys. If he has you in that place, come on, I'm talking to somebody. If he has you in that place, you're not in the hangar. You know, the planes are in hangars, but when he has you, you're down the runway and it takes off. When he has you, you will say, "It's done." This is the greatest thing that could ever have happened to a woman. And you know what? A lot of women are listening to me right now. They're saying, "You know what? I had kids, but I ain't never had nothing like he's talking." This is, do you understand? This is 60% of why women are shouting and screaming in church, because they've got to get it out some way. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to be very transparent with, I pastored 12 years. And I pastored during the years that me and Prince look like brothers. I pastored during the years when I was dancing in church like I was Michael Jackson. And I had women say to me, older women, they would say, "Prophet, yeah, I thank God for you. I want to tell you something. I don't know what it, maybe ask God what it is, because I'm just wet. I'm so wet." I said, "Excuse me? We just left church. I got to tell somebody." I said, "Okay." I told one of my colleagues that, and he said to me, "You're a better man than I am." I said, "No, I am not a better man than you. I have an assignment at this church. And my mother told me a long time ago, you don't blank where you eat." Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
She said, "Don't go to that church and mess up. You got more women in there. Your job is to preach them and teach them." So I say that to say this. Women sit in church and have orgasms. Did you hear me? It's quiet in Zion. And so much so that this is where some of these women are. You know what? They have needs. And the anointing, now y'all want to get spiritual now. The anointing, like some people do, the anointing, when you leave a service, the anointing is still on you. And that's why you got to lock the hotel room door.
Wow.
Because if you don't, you either going out the door and your excuse, or they're coming in. And you know what? Some of the excuses are, "Hey, I want to go to the Huddle House. I want to go to Waffle House." You don't want to go to Waffle House. You want a waffle.
So
No,
we gotta bring this thing full circle.
We're gonna bring it, but I know Dr. Seymour want to say something. Go ahead, Dr. Seymour, because she was agreeing.
No.
What? Come on, Queen.
No, he did that one.
Drop the mic.
He done made some women start getting wet already now.
You know what, Dr. Seymour, I've lost probably a group of people off of my following me now. I don't care. But I want them to understand, you have to understand where we are. And I agree with all you doctors and ladies. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said tonight, Prophet. I totally agree. And it's really happening in ministry. And today I pray that this program is bringing some enlightening into a lot of Christianity. We're out of the days of Christendom, and now we're into the day of reality and kingdom. And now that we're bringing the kingdom back into purpose, maybe now we can get something done. We need to understand what it's going to take. Ladies and gentlemen, That's what it's going to take. This is a season now of real ladies and real gentlemen. Everybody got to recognize. I had a thing about the woman that went to the well. She looked out of her window and saw 12 men. And she said, my goodness, she had one already at home. She said, but my goodness, these Negroes look good. And she went to get some water and didn't even she forgot to take the bucket because those 12 men looked so good to her. And but it was a setup. It was a setup. But I've enjoyed myself. No more. The 3-4 chord has already come together. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I think yes.
We enjoyed you too. We're gonna bring this thing full circle.
Yes, that's what I was getting ready to do just now. Listen, I mean, I've been watching and they've been the viewers have made up theories. We got the cookie jar theory, the snapper theory. They've made so many theories tonight. The sweat theory. Just off of what you all have shared tonight, the wealth of knowledge and wisdom. And I'll say this, it's almost taboo sometimes, and it has been for years, for this type of information to come from ministers of the gospel. And I had off hands to you both for sharing tonight, raw and uncensored and uncut. Amen. On the boat and the red snapper and the snapper. We bless the Lord. My mom and dad have been on here watching. Lord Jesus too. Praise God. Amen. Yes, Dr. Seymour. So definitely this has been awesome. So tonight our full circle moment is an opportunity for just us to give a closing statement of what the people should take away. This has been so great tonight, guys. I'm telling you, I really truly enjoyed myself. So tonight, Prophet, do you have something for us, just the closing words tonight? I'm not even going to give you a statement or a question to answer, but just something that you can share with us tonight before we get out of here.
I'm going to reserve and then come back. I want the queen that go first, and I'll go after her.
Okay, queen of the night. Come on, queen.
Okay, a 3-4. I would like to leave with the people about the 3-4 card. It eliminates the sense of separation and it eliminates the sense of loneliness. The 3-4 card, agape, phileo, and eros. It will eliminate all of our questions that we might have. Let's get connected to the 3-fold. I know everybody uses agape for one thing, eros for one thing, and phileo for one thing, but we want to bring this 3-4 chord together and let's make something happen in all of our lives. I enjoyed you and love you, ladies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seymour. Thank you. Queen. I'm sorry, queen.
No, you're all right.
Dr. Mosley.
This is mine. Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing.
Oh.
Yeah, all right.
I heard you, queen. She had a background for you. Ain't nothing like the real thing. I love it. And that's awesome. I love it. Vicky, you got something for us?
Well,
you know what? Hey, you know what? If we were all out now, the atmosphere is really, really sweet.
yeah.
So if we were all out right now, we'd just have a ball singing some what did Marvin Gaye said? Let's get it on.
Let's get it.
And then we would bring in, what's the girl that says, rescue me, or let me in your arms, rescue me.
Oh, no.
I want your tender. Okay.
All right.
Because I'm lonely.
And I'm blue.
Yeah. Well, I ain't gonna end with a song, but I want to just thank you guys for joining us tonight. This was something we needed to have. We needed to bring back real talk, real people, real conversations. And, I gave a disclaimer. I said, be ready. It's going to be lit tonight. If you know, then you know. But if you don't know, tune in. And so I think those that didn't know, they tuned in tonight and now they know. So I think that again, thank y'all for being transparent. These are nuggets that we need to know. You know, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whatever part of the journey you're in, these are helpful nuggets to help you kind of move on throughout your journey. But I think it goes back to, you know, growing up. I think we hit on it a little bit, and it's definitely going to warrant a part 3 because we're going to have a part 2 Monday night, and Natasha going to talk about that in a minute. But I think we're going to have a part 3 because I think we need to go back to the roots of it all. I think when you go back to how boys are raised and how it's okay if they are dating more than one woman, you know, I think that's kind of something that is typical of teenage boys and be like, you know, you dating, son, it's all right. You know, it's like it's what's good for the son is different than the daughters. So I like also what Dr. Seymour touched on, how we were raised to be women, but not necessarily raised to be ladies, or that lost art. We've lost that art somewhere down the road. So how do we get all that back? So yeah, I think we got some searching to do, some digging to do, and it's going to warrant another discussion.
Mhm.
For sure. So I want y'all to bring the same thunder, same heat the next time we meet. Because the people want to know. That's what the people want to know. We're asking for what you say, Natasha. We're asking for America.
You gotta ask them if they're gonna come back before you tell them to bring the thunder and the heat. We need.
I have a feeling they're gonna come back, but y'all gonna come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, praise the Lord. Thank you.
Wow.
Well, you done, Vicky? I didn't know if you were done. Okay, so listen, guys, let me tell y'all something. One thing about Gravity Talks, we're unapologetically believers in the Lord Jesus. But however, we have also come to the reality of the impacts that mental health has, even on the church person, even on those that don't believe. And so we've collaborated and come together to make this happen for the points of awareness, to just share and build one another up in so many different avenues and different ways. And we thank God for the preachers being transparent, stepping outside of what their norm, to just have a real conversation with the people to help them understand the importance of healing and growth and development. And so tonight, we thank the Queen, Dr. Seymour, and again, we thank Dr. Mosley. You guys, man, oh my God, this has been amazing. I'm going to watch this again. Yeah. Definitely, we invite everybody that's tuned in tonight, do us a favor, share this, because I'm going to tell you, some stuff that was heard tonight needs to be heard over and over again. And sometimes I will say this, that sometimes when there are people that you're trying to tell them something, just send them the video and let them watch it. They won't listen to you. They'll hear it from someone else. And I tell you, I'm praying that cookie jars are gonna open up tonight. I'm praying right now that the red snapper is gonna snap tonight. I'm praying tonight that everything, the boat rolls and all that, everything that they have spoken tonight has encouraged you all to do that pillow talk, do whatever, get that Bentley, go for it. But we thank both of you guys for being here. Listen, on next week on Monday night, we are going to do a part 2. We're going to recap tonight's show with Dr. Seymour and Dr. Mosley. And on next week, we have a special guest who is going to be a relationship coach. Am I right, Vicky?
Yes, Coach Alonda Green will be joining us.
She's coming in, and she's also going to be bringing in a couple, and yes, she's going to do some marriage coaching on next week, and we're also going to recap the show. So we're excited about the recap, and then to actually see a coaching episode that is going to happen on Gravity Talk. So guys, you know, one thing about Gravity is you just never know what's going to keep you level and keep you on the ground. And we know that mental health can have you all over the place if you don't handle it and practice self-care. So again, tune in again with us on Monday night at 7 p.m. And again, we thank you so much, everyone that's tuned in. And am I forgetting something?
Yeah, and also too, not necessarily showing a coaching session per se, but she's going to go over some of the nuggets that she shared with this particular couple. So we got some questions that are going to be asked for single life versus getting ready to get married life, and then the married life. So we're going to kind of cover all 3 of those phases.
Okay. And also before we go, Dr. Seymour, can you give us your information, how we can find you, how we can locate you when you're doing shows? Could you share that with us tonight?
A talk for real people with real situations on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. So, but you can go Dr. Adelia Seymour Facebook, and you can YouTube Dr. Adelia Seymour. YouTube Dr. Adelia Seymour, Facebook Dr. Adelia Seymour. And that's relationship. That's not, when I say real talk, I do some real talk. But now at 4:00 on Monday, or every Monday with Warfare College with Bishop Bloomer. You can go under Bishop Bloomer or Dr. Adelia Seymour Facebook. But I do 4:00 every day with Bishop Bloomer. Come back on Monday nights with my own show.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Seymour. And Dr. Mosley, would you share with us how we can locate you and hear from you throughout the week?
Yeah, Friday nights I have a 6:45. I do an inspirational message, and then 9:00 I'm with Bishop Mitchell Taylor in the Fall of the Prophets with Bishop Bloomer, and then Saturday morning at 12 we do a national prayer, and then I come back Sunday for early morning glory around 8:30 on Sunday mornings, and then I'm off and on different programs, and I'm being invited, and so. Listen, I'm open to be with whoever that's giving people information. And I thank you all for inviting us. And I thank God for this. It's refreshing and it's uplifting. And I tell you, it's those that are listening out there. My theme, my mantra in my life is I'm outstanding and improving. And that's what I want to be. And hey, enjoy life and living.
Awesome.
Awesome. We thank you so much in America. We thank you again for tuning in. God bless y'all. Everybody have an awesome night. We ask you about our guests will just stay on just for a minute as we shut off the live tonight. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.